every time when you're in the fuck it's, while you're giving yourself permission to just let loose, the inner critic is just right there being like, "You fat fuck, you're so disgusting. This is ridiculous. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself." And those words that just came out of my mouth sound pretty crucial or critical. So how do we rewrite the narrative? Before we get into today's episode, I want to make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, if you don't want to miss any content that's being dropped, make sure you hit that notification bell as well. I also want to know who are the people you want to hear from on this show and what topics would you like me to continue to cover. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection YouTube channel, the place where we debunk the eat less, move more, shrink more mentality and focus on what actually matters, including your beliefs about yourself, your body, food, and the behaviors that support a respectful relationship with all of those. I'm your host, Christina, licensed therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach, and menopause specialist. And in today's episode, we are talking about the lie of falling off the wagon. This comes straight to you from a client conversation in real time. And I thought that this would be such a brilliant conversation to have. Here at the Mindset Mirror Connection, we believe what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. So let's chat about it a bit more. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mindset Mirror Connection. I'm so excited to have this conversation. I love when I get an opportunity to basically pull straight from the headlines, right? Where I was chatting with a client because it's her birthday and she is a newer client. She said, "I fell off the wagon unintentionally." And I texted her back. I said, "You're not on a wagon. So how can you reframe this?" But then it gave me an idea of talking about it here on the podcast. So you guys get to benefit from it. For those of you new to this podcast, I like to banter a little bit so you can get to know me, and I hope to get to know you in the future. So if you want to look at the show notes below, you can fast forward to the subject at hand. So I went to, oh my God, you guys, I got to meet my curl crush, this woman who I've been following her career for so long in fitness, Jen Winderstrom. She, to me, it's so interesting. There's so much I have to share here. She was on The Biggest Loser as one of the personal trainers and instructors. And there was something about her that I clicked with. Like, she was assertive, but she was like compassionate. She had this very strong body, but still had this feminine aspect to her, but still this also kind of boss energy. Just, I very much was drawn to her. And I followed her career, and obviously she's been on like all the fitness magazines. She is now working with Arnold Schwarzenegger directly. She has an awesome following on social media. And I remember back in like 2019, 2018, when I first really focused on getting like super lean, I had compared my like after pictures to one of her covers on Self magazine. I was so happy. I was so excited about how I look like her. And she responded back and I was like, "Oh my gosh." And then as her career has gone on, like, she's really been an advocate for strength training for women. And she speaks about it often on podcasts and on her social media. And she has this women's lift club out in LA. And I noticed that she was going to be the sole coach in this lift club for the weekend for this past Saturday. And so I said to Mark, I said, "I want to go. I want to meet her. I really want to get her on this podcast." And I did. Oh my God, I did. And just this woman, super like cool energy, high energy enough to like you, like there is that blend with like a instructor where there's some instructors who are like on like mad Adderall and you're just like, what? There's instructors that are low energy. She's like Goldilocks, right in the middle. And getting to lift with her and interacting with her, telling her what I did, it was like a dream, definitely a bucket list situation. I'm so happy that I did it. Like, I just said, "I want to do that. I'm going to do that." And I did it. And it was so fun. And just her, I don't like to compare bodies, but I love looking at her body. She's so strong and we have very similar statures. So strong, beautiful. Just again, like healthy and well and balanced from following her on Instagram and seeing her like being at Pride, right? She was at Pride that weekend, plus she was coaching and having that balance. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Plus just being near her energy. I am like on cloud nine. It was so fun. And my mentee, for those of you who don't know, I've taken on a mentee. So I am now a mentor who is a social worker. Shout out to you, Liv. She's a social worker and personal trainer, and she wants to know how to do something similar to what I'm doing here. And we got to work out together and meet in person because we've only kind of known each other online. So really amazing weekend. The gym is called Brick LA, so shout out to them out in WeHo. And it just so happened that it was also West Hollywood Pride. Freaking coolest thing. Like next year, I am bringing all the outfits. So it is Pride Month. Shout out to everyone out there who lives and loves in whatever way they choose. I am a huge advocate for being you. Be you, baby. Like, I love it. And it was just such a great weekend with the Jen Winterstrom thing, and then being able to be at Pride and just seeing people like stand proudly in who they are. It just reminds me of why I do this work that I do. I'm getting a little emotional even thinking about it. The other thing we got to do is Mark and I, so we brought the dogs. I got this ridiculous deal at the Kipton Hotel Palomar, Beverly Hills. Shout out to that hotel. Again, it was all like serendipitous because I got this like crazy deal and it was wonderful. Plus I got like $15 in credit of food and this, I don't know. I don't even know how it happened, but praise Jesus. That's where it happened, right? So as I'm driving to the gym, I'm like, holy cow, like we're in Beverly Hills. Now, I'm originally from LA, but my family and I really kind of stood or stayed in the like LA downtown proper area. We never actually went past that unless we were going to the beach. So I had never really explored Beverly Hills as a young girl, or obviously as I've grown up, and like passing that sign, like that Beverly Hills sign, and Rodeo Drive and all of these things, the Beverly Center, all of it. I was like, oh my gosh. And so I text Mark, I'm like, we should go back and take the dogs for a walk around. There was like this beautiful like art garden and then almost like a succulent garden. So something similar you'd see here in Phoenix. And we walked the streets, looking at the beautiful homes. Then we got in the car. We went up and drove around Bel Air, which was nuts. Bel Air is interesting because that's where the like true like A-list people live. So like you don't see homes. Like they're all like these huge hedges or huge walls. They're like Jurassic Park. So that was kind of pointless. But it was a really beautiful day. And like our car has this huge moonroof, sunroof. So we had that open. And then we went down and went to WeHo, celebrated Pride, went to Craig's for dinner, which is a really well-known spot there in West Hollywood, and just had a really great weekend. So very, very exciting. If you get a chance, if you are in the LA area, check Jen Winderstrom's Instagram. She'll post her Women's Lift Club dates, and they're every Saturday. So it's either her or I believe she has another coach. Definitely worth it if you can get there. It's a $35 drop-in is what I paid, but you could probably also pay for a membership. So that is that. One of the things I did this weekend, I had at Craig's, first off, we drove there because I live in Phoenix. So it's about a 5.5, 6 hour drive. I had Chick-fil-A, right, for dinner. And I decided because I am in a bulk, like I'm going to have the Chick-fil-A sandwich. I'm going to have some French fries. I'm going to have barbecue sauce. Then the next morning, I actually made some overnight oats, which I will talk about on another episode. And then when we were done, I kind of pushed my next meal because it was like a weird time. Because I got out of there at 9, got back to the hotel like 9:20. Mark and I were like, let's just go walk now, because I was kind of gross. I'm like, yeah, I'll just go walk. I kind of freshened up and just walked in like my workout clothes. And by the time we had walked, it's 10:30, 10:45. So there's this place called, I think, Alfred Coffee, and they have like world-renowned iced vanilla ice lattes. So we got one, highly recommend. They were very good. So that kind of pushed me to lunch. So we got to lunch, went to lunch in Westwood near UCLA. And we went to this Mexican food restaurant, had some tortilla chips with salsa. Salsa was bomb. We're salsa snobs. Even my little white boy husband, he loves his shit spicy and full of flavor like me. And they were like, okay, I think I just want to share something because our reservation at Craig's was at 5:45. That's the only time we can get in. So it ends up being this huge burrito, which was like basically a Chipotle-sized burrito cut in half. So we shared that. It had chicken, steak, guacamole, lots of guacamole, sour cream, beans, like the whole thing. Then at Craig's, I had a frutti di mar, which is a seafood pasta. So it had scallops, branzino, oysters, mussels, clams, and calamari on a fettuccine, and then the sauce. And then Mark, I guess they're really, really well known for their chicken parmesan, which was very good as well. Then we're like, let's get some dessert. And so we went to this place called Salt and Straw. Really, really good dessert. And I got like a split scoop. So 2 different flavors in a split scoop. Why am I telling you this? Because I really enjoyed myself. And we obviously I portioned and we kind of shared things, or like I did the split scoop. And I'm not coming back thinking, oh my gosh, right? I fell off the wagon. I'm coming back thinking, wow, what a great weekend. But for so many of you, if you would have eaten the way that I ate, you would think I've fallen off the wagon and you would overcorrect. Interestingly, when I was researching this, I found the concept of falling off the wagon actually has some historical roots. It comes from the temperance movement at the turn of the 20th century, where people were trying to refrain from alcohol. If you were on the wagon, on the water wagon, that meant that you were refraining from alcohol. And if you drink again, you fell off. It was a moral judgment. If you were drinking again, that you were weak, you were wrong. Obviously, refraining from alcohol, you were good, you were right, you're following the law. The problem is it kind of got hijacked and morphed into diet culture and this kind of idea that if you missed a workout or you ate differently than a strict diet, if you had a cookie, that meant you fell off the wagon, and we attached a lot of shame to it. And this made health and success in your health very binary, right? Meaning you're either on or good or off or bad. And so the concept, I wanted to bring that up because if you think about someone trying to refrain from alcohol, now I'm going to take it the next step and refraining from alcohol because you're an addict, right? You don't have, it needs to be black and white for an addict. Like for me and my relationship with alcohol now is not black and white. There are areas of gray, but they're pretty dark gray. So I have certain things that I do and have to do because there's a certain threshold that if I have too many drinks, then I get into this like playful YOLO mode. And that never ends well for me. So, but from an addict, it's black or white. I refrain from alcohol. I don't feel like I can control. I relapse and it's very out of control. But this concept doesn't apply to food, but we make it apply to food, that it needs to be very black or white, and that food is something that we have to have certain types of things in an effort to be good. Now, yes, we need to have nutrient-dense foods and all of that, but as I've talked about many times, we also need pleasurable foods. So if you're really thinking about this off-on, you're treating yourself like you're an addict, and in this sobriety program, you need to be sober to what? Pleasurable foods? No, that's not it. And a lot of people say they're addicted to sugar. We don't see people walking around trying to get their fix with bags of sugar. There's much more to it. So I just wanted to put that out there. So the problem with the wagon, of course, is that it doesn't fit this idea. If you're falling off and on, then your plan doesn't fit your lifestyle, right? But the wagon just exacerbates the rigid, unrealistic diet culture rules that we set for ourselves. And it kind of is this quality control checklist that you've created that if I do it this way, I'm good. If I don't do it this way, I'm bad. I've fallen off the wagon. And it's just not real. It's not real, and we need to get it out of our mindset. I interrupt this episode to ask you some questions. Have you felt like your body is not your own? Do you look at jeans and think that they're someone else's? You forget words that your 3-year-old can spell? Do you feel like you're crying in the parking lot and then snapping at your partner? Do you feel bloated? Do you feel like fat is moving in different parts of your body? Do you just feel off? If you do, I'm here to tell you, if you're over the age of 35, it could very, very well be perimenopause. And you'll go to the doctor, get your testing done, and they'll say, well, you still have your period, so everything is fine, but you don't feel fine. I get it. I had a hysterectomy at 35, kept my ovaries thinking that that wouldn't push me into perimenopause, but it did exactly that. It did that 4.5 years earlier than I would have gone into it, and I just felt off. Headaches, brain fog, irritation, and you're not alone. You are not broken. But the problem is we try to use the same things that helped us lose weight in our 30s and 20s, and they're not working anymore. Why? Because estrogen and progesterone, testosterone even, are off. They're different. It doesn't mean it's bad. This is a transition that every single woman in this world will go through. However, what is bad is using old, worn-out methods instead of having a method that actually works. Introducing the Mindset of Menopause. This 16-week program is designed based in research and science as well as psychology to help you work through the main struggles of perimenopause. I'm going to teach you evidence-based approaches to nutrition, exercise, nervous system regulation and emotional management, sleep, sexual health, gut health, and so much more. In this 16 weeks, we have a weekly group coaching call, and every month we are going to meet one-on-one to design your game plan. On top of that, I'm going to have a completely new psychological curriculum based in what women struggle with going through this transitional period. Body image issues, boundary issues, really just emotional and stress management, because life gets really lifey on top of hormones changing. On top of that, you'll get access to our community forum so you can be with like women who will say, hey, I'm here, I'm with you, we can do this together. This 16-week program is designed to be unlike any other program because it does incorporate the psychology, the physiology, the emotionality of what you're going through. So if you are interested, please check out the show notes to sign up for a clarity call so we can talk about what your goals are, what your symptoms are, and I can give you a game plan. This call will provide you with all of the information that you need, and then you can decide if the Mindset of Menopause is the program for you. Now, back to the show. I wanted to go into the psychological truth, like why this is a myth, because like I said to my client, there is no wagon. There's no wagon at all. There's no track. There's no wagon. There's food. There's food. There's amounts of foods and choice of foods, quality of foods, right? There's a difference between saying like, I didn't have as many high quality foods this weekend. Okay, cool. Why? It was my birthday. Had a lot of cake. Great, move on. But I've fallen off the wagon, right? I got off track. It's telling me like, it almost implicates that it's like this mental, physical, emotional spiral that you've had. So again, it's not this, what people think is the wagon, the track is discipline. When really it's dysregulation. Your system gets overloaded when we have such high unrealistic expectations on it. And its default is to cope, right? So things like emotional eating, for example. When we emotionally eat or we're just so overwhelmed, we get out of our routine. That is not a sabotage. It's solely that you're trying to survive in that moment. And again, it is your job to learn new survival skills and learn, not even survival, how to thrive in your life skills. But I want to also acknowledge that when you kind of fall back on your default, that is your default. That's just what you know. It's not an off track, on track. And that's the reality. You're falling back to what you know. You didn't fall off track. Because if it was off track, it wouldn't be your default. Get it? Okay. Binary thinking traps you. So this on or off, black or white, leaves zero room for flexibility and life. And instead of adjusting to, like I did, like I adjusted the portions to what I ate. Then after we had our ice cream, we kind of walked around a little bit. And then when we got back to the hotel, we walked the dogs a little bit. I adjusted. I had allowed for flexibility. I had the split cup instead of the double scoop. But when we don't have that level of adjustment or flexibility, we crash and we spiral. And all of those insecurities that we have, that food and exercise and all of that is trying to cover up, we experience that. I want to say that one more time. When you're off track, on track, on the on track side of things, you are committing to ignoring your needs, because your needs are to be social. Your needs are to feel love and connection. You even have a need of enjoying food and having a pleasurable experience with it, right? Now, is that one of our innate needs? No. However, in our day and age, that is a part of our culture. And so when you are on track and you're not doing it in a flexible way, then you're ignoring those needs. But we never say that. Oh, I've been really good at ignoring my needs for the past 4 days, and on Friday, I couldn't ignore my needs anymore. What a different conversation. The inner critic loves this language too, right? So that inner critic loves to fuel you for falling off. It loves to shame you. Shame is fueled with disconnection. When we disconnect, that's where we get the case of the fuckets, right? Because now I can't even handle the shame that I'm experiencing because I've quote unquote fallen off track. So I'm just going to numb out until maybe that shame goes away, or I have the mental capacity to get back on track, which is probably going to be Monday because I couldn't possibly do it on Saturday or Sunday. The inner critic loves this. And then all it does with that is it keeps you feeling that shame, because every time when you're in the fuckets, while you're giving yourself permission to just let loose, the inner critic is just right there being like, you fat fuck, you're so disgusting. This is ridiculous. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself. And those words that just came out of my mouth sound pretty crucial or critical. That's how my clients have talked to themselves. So how do we rewrite the narrative? I've already given you a lot of really good examples on this, but we need to stop saying fall off, right? You're not falling anywhere. Most of the time, you're just maintaining that weekend. That's an option. It's an option for you to maintain. I maintained status quo this weekend. I maintained default this weekend. I allowed myself to meet my needs this weekend. And know that if I'm maintaining, that also means I'm not losing or gaining. And I'm okay with that. I maintained this weekend. I'm not in a lose cycle. I'm not in a gain cycle. I just maintained and I felt good about it, right? That is something that I'd love for people to switch, fall off, say, hey, I had a maintenance weekend. It was my birthday. And most of the time my clients were already planning for that ahead of time. And not this idea that it's off or on, because your birthday, let's just use that as an example, is a wonderful time to connect. People love birthday cake, right? Or having dinner as friends. And for you to be sitting there in your head about what this food is and what that food is and the calories and this and that, that takes away from something much more important, which is connecting and making memories and being present and mindful. I would rather you, because remember, health is not just physical, it's also mental. It's the whole concept of this freaking podcast. I would rather you be there present, enjoying yourself, because mentally that's going to recharge you. Kind of like I talked about my weekend. It recharged me. I feel so good today. I have a lot of clarity and energy and just high vibes because I had that this weekend that I enjoyed. And I had things that I did to just manage not feeling like crud, because you could overeat, right? And feel like shit. And I didn't do that. So we need to stop saying fell off track. You can say I maintained, my needs changed this weekend. My current plan didn't fit into the weekend. I'm still in the game, just needed a timeout. Love. So think about it, guys. I want you to come up with your own. What does that feel like for you? I wanted to meet my needs that, I don't want to say that because I would hope that you're meeting your needs throughout the week. But say I felt like during the week I was a little bit more rigid with my food and I opened myself up to being more flexible with food this weekend. Wow. What a difference. And here's the thing is, if we can reframe in that way, we are reducing the shame that we might experience with this pass fail concept. We're just saying, this is the reality, because it is, you guys. Nowhere in your life are you going to be black and white and be black and white for good. Sorry, it doesn't exist. There's too much life to happen, and that's the reality. So once we can get past this concept of off on, we can start living. Yay! What a concept. Then reflect if we did get into this fuck it moment, how did we get there? Are we, kind of like I talked about a few seconds ago, are we being too rigid during the week? Are we not letting the air out of our emotional balloon slowly? Whereas when we got on the weekend, we just let that balloon go and it fell out of control. If we did get into a fuck it mentality and all, how do we get there? I want you to reflect on that. That what was I feeling? What was I trying to solve with this fuck it, all or nothing mentality? Even if you go to a place where you're feeling like crud, you didn't have control, right? And you didn't have flexibility, because I want you to also recognize that there's flexibility in the pleasurable side of things. If we're doing all, then we don't have flexibility. We're saying everything needs to be balls to the wall. All the foods, I need to eat all the poor foods, make all the poor choices, do all the poor things. No, you don't. You can have half of that meal. You can have a really wholesome, healthy breakfast. You can get the split scoop. I know I keep coming back to the fucking split scoop, but that's my reality. Okay. So understanding that, because curiosity, when we can look at things curiously, it debunks our guilt and our shame. And you say, what was that going through there? How did I get there? That is, again, if you went a little bit overboard. And just remembering that we need a system that can bend without breaking. If we're constantly trying to get back on track, then the system doesn't work for you. This is your reality. And we need to acknowledge our reality, and in that moment in time, create a plan for that season of your life. And that's it. I have a client currently who just recently moved to a new state. Her husband's in the military, so he was in another country. Now they're living back together in a new state, in a new home. She has a new job, and she was comparing herself to her old reality and feeling kind of off or on. I said, no. We can't compare to that girl who was living by herself in medical school, like doing all of the things. We need to create a new reality. Like, this is your reality. I see this a lot in perimenopause and menopause. We're trying to compare ourselves to our even 38, 39-year-old selves. We can't. We need to face our current reality and create a new game plan, because what worked then doesn't work now. And what worked then doesn't work now doesn't even mean like calories in versus calories out. It's our stress management skills. It's our routine. It's the time and energy we give to others and ourselves. All of that. Okay. So you don't need a wagon. You need a method that moves with your life. Fuck the wagon. We're not on the Oregon Trail. As I've talked about before, I love the boombox. I love the battery. Boombox theory that I made up is you have this huge boombox, right? And every knob is a different thing that we need to be healthy. So we can even add a few knobs here, but usually it's nutrition, exercise, movement, sleep and recovery, and stress management. So I'm going to add little, we'll call them settings to each knob. So if we're looking at stress management, being with friends, enjoying your birthday, enjoying your anniversary, that helps with stress management, right? You're living a higher quality of life when you're engaged with people and you're not in your head about the food you're eating, right? If your nutrition quality turned down a little bit, maybe we walk a little bit more. Now, again, you're not going to walk off the food, but again, we're just creating a plan that moves with us, right? In regards to exercise, we can use that extra energy in our body to lift heavier. Again, with the boombox, we can turn things up, we can turn things down based on that season of our life, but we don't turn them on full blast. We don't turn the knobs off. So even if it's a weekend around your birthday, just turn those knobs, turn some up, turn some down, and find that balance that works for you. Okay. That's what I love to teach people. And once they get that concept, oh, I just turned down the knob of nutrition quality and I turned up the knob of stress management and socializing. I also turned up the knob of recovery, but I also made us walk everywhere. So I turn up the knob of movement. Then I use those calories in the gym to like actually lift really heavy and really strong. So I turn up the knob of exercise. So 4 knobs went up, 1 went down. I love it. Love it. Love it. Real success is built in this messy middle, right? It's not built in the extremes. So you can let go of that. I give you permission. All right, guys, if you like this episode or you know someone who is constantly on, off, you know that person who's like, I fell off the track this weekend, please send them this episode. I would love for you to share this. You sharing this means you care about others. You care about the people around you, getting quality information that's based in science and research and all of those things. If you haven't already, make sure to give us a follow or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I would love a 5-star rating and review, as we've had some change around these parts. So if we can get some new, fresh, updated reviews on this solo voyage, I would love that. And I'm going to leave you the same way I do all of the time, reminding you that what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. Bye-bye.